Hey, everybody knows who I am. I'm not going to waste a bunch of time here. I'm on my 50th take with this. Try to get all the information in one shot, and it's not working out all that well. Forgetting to record, so on and so forth. There's an unofficial video about power boxes. Some people have asked me some questions about doing videos with my distribution box. This is one of my spares. Uh, got millions of square feet of flooring with multiple machines run on this box. Uh, that is the truth. So, I'm going to show you the insides of this and talk about a couple things, tell you how I'd make this better if I were doing it again. And my newer boxes are like this. I've got a ton of these out on loan right now to the point where I'm probably never going to remember who has every one of them, and they're going to wind up with nicer distribution boxes. If you're looking to buy something like this in the short term, you're going to talk to a guy named Jimbro Kramer. Jim Kramer at Delaware Valley Hardwoods is one of my favorite people in the flooring industry. This guy just lives and breathes what we do, and he does a great job. Jim does build distribution centers, sells them prices good when you consider everything that has to go through in building one of these. This is the simplest type of distribution box that you can have. It's very simple, easy, rudimentary. It does not have its own separate overcurrent protection for each machine, and I'll talk about that in a couple minutes. So basically what I have here is a glorified splitter. It's a junction box. Takes one 240 volt input and turns it into three 240 volt outputs. Does not have a booster in it, does not have any transformers or anything like that. I use this just to split up 240 and run it to different places. Coming into this box, I run an 8 gauge cable. So right about here, there would be a 30 amp NEMA L630 plug and receptacle. I use this short jumper over to 100 amp Amphenol. That's just a residual leftover from my years in bowling. I do like these, but you guys aren't going to be able to get them. If you needed to upsize this, they do make 50 amp twist locks. NEMA does not have a code for 50 amp twist locks anymore. I think they're prohibitively expensive. So look those up if you wanted to do something like that. Inside of this box, I'll use a solder joint on the back of the Amphenol. Comes back over. You got two big 6 gauge mains that are soldered to 3 individual each 10 gauge loops that go over to 1, 2, 3 NEMA L620s. You got one for each line, so line, and then 6 wires go into these. As far as the ground path goes in this, the ground comes in, it doubles over to the face screw on the Amphenol, telephone pulls its way across, picks up the face screw on each one, heads to a ground lug that you can't see, it's hidden underneath here, I can't even get my fingers to it, and then loops back to the ground on each outlet. With this box, off a 30 amp breaker, I can power pretty much any 2 machines. I run my big machine and aspirator, or I run my Typhoon and aspirator. I run my Typhoon and big machine. If I'm trying to run 3 machines at a time, I do upsize to a 50 amp breaker. And with a 50 amp breaker, I can run pretty much any 3 pieces of equipment off of this at the same time. That being said, a lot of people don't seem to understand that not every machine that we operate at 240 volt requires its own separate 30 amp input. Your high definition multi-speed buffers are rated to around 14 amps. You'd have to talk to those companies and figure out exactly what the amp draw is on that. Typhoon floats between 10 and 12 amps on 240 volt. That is a variable speed machine. It's pretty static. But it can float a little bit. Aspirator, same thing, depending on the load on the vacuum. If your filter's got a lot going through it or whatnot, you're talking 8 to 10 amps. So very easy 30 amps to run this. Big machines, I run a classic 8. It's the old Clark belt machine, 4 horsepower, 6.5 peak horsepower. This Sunday only at the county fairgrounds. It's 4 horsepower. It does not draw 30 amps. I don't remember what the draw is on that machine. Hummels float, I think, around like 17 amps. Most of your big machines can't speak to Galaxy are going to be between 15 and 30 amps floating. They start with a lot more, but they run between 15 and 30 amps. Speaking of Galaxy, Ken Varnes is running his Galaxy and aspirator off of one of these boxes. If you needed to know more about it, talk to him. Now, FG's big machine, when it gets here, draws a ton of current. It is a very high-powered motor. We will probably have a distribution box that we can sell along with that in the future. We're working on that right now. Part of this video is part of that. So, 3 machines. If I were building this better, it would be a sub-panel, 60 amp input with a 30 amp breaker and 2 20 amp breakers going out to these to run these machines. Again, talk to Jim Bro Kramer. He's my boy. Love that guy. Makes a nice box. Got some nice box. So, booster boxes. People ask me where booster boxes fit into this whole grand scheme of things. I run this box off of my booster box, but I don't run a floor sanding buck booster. I have my own thing. I cannot comment on what those manufacturers recommend, do not recommend as far as buck boosters are concerned. So, that being said, you can split this, put this in front of your buck booster, and then your buck booster is running independent load off of this, and then you won't have boost for all of these equipment that are running off of just the box. Typhoon doesn't really need a buck booster for most of your stuff that you're doing here, neither is aspirator. So run your bigger draw machines, your fancier machines, machines that we run all the time, run those off of the buck booster and run a separate line off of these, or get your splitters on Amazon. If you run this on the back side of the buck booster, again, got nothing for the companies that make the actual buck boosters, but from the specs that they put on the internet, Blue Floor Finish Company buck booster from Sweden is 7.2 kilovolts, and it comes out to a theoretical maximum of 31.5 amps. They rate their box to 30 amps maximum, so don't put more than 30 amps after the split on this, and in theory you should be okay. United States Floor Sander Company of Yokohama, Japan rates their box to 8.4 kilovolts. That transfers out to 35.5 amps. I'm guessing that box has a maximum of 35 amps. You're going to need to talk to them, not me, about that box. I think that's it. See what we got coming in the future as far as power distribution systems for sale. Talk to Jim Bro Kramer. Build your own. Do whatever you need to do. 240 volt machines are not leaving our workplace. They're going to become more and more normal. And you guys are actually going to be much happier with it when you transition to the 240 volt workplace, because we don't have machines burning up nearly as much, and we don't trip breakers. So have a good one. Thank you for your time.